Hello you guys, my name is Edras and welcome to my channel. With this video, I mainly want to focus on giving some advice to you guys who are barely getting started off with your credit card journey and basically giving you guys some advice. I know you guys are probably getting flooded in with all these credit card offers when it comes to sign-up bonuses or benefits that you can include into your everyday life, but I want to show you guys some lessons that I would recommend before you start off your credit card journey. Start off with lesson number one: always treat your credit card like your debit card. A lot of us think that, oh yeah, we're using the bank's money, but you have to realize that you're putting your own money at risk. When I say you treat your credit card like your debit card, I'm more into like saying, for instance, living below your means. So let's say, for instance, you only have a balance of $100 in your debit card. You wouldn't go out of your way and spend $120 on that debit card because you only have a balance of $100. This same principle applies to your credit card. You wouldn't go out of your way spending those $120 because you know you only have $100 in your debit card. This is why I always recommend having a budget and track, just so you know where every penny is going out of your bank account. The only difference between using a credit card and a debit card is that on the credit card you have to go out of your way to pay the payments, whereas on your debit card it automatically takes it out. Lesson number two is always have an emergency fund. We all know how life rolls, and we always know that we always have to expect the unexpected. What I recommend as an emergency fund is saving up from 3 to 6 months worth of expenses, just so you guys have that as a backup. To give you guys an example, let's say for instance an emergency pops up in your life. I would recommend using your credit card to pay it off, but using your emergency fund to pay off the credit card just because you have that money aside, specifically just for emergencies. To put you guys into my shoes, is not too long ago I had to take my dog to the vet for an emergency, but since I had an emergency fund, I was able to just use that money and not it just be something unexpected. For lesson number three, I always recommend paying off your cards in full instead of doing the minimum payments. What I always tell everyone is always be scared of the APR that they give you. If you're carrying a balance after the closing date, that APR is gonna affect that balance that you're carrying there. All these credit card companies are going to give you an APR interest rate from 14, 15, all the way up to 25% just for missing a payment. This is why I always recommend avoid carrying a balance before the closing date. There's always myths going around saying that if you have a balance on your credit card, that's only going to be a positive impact on your credit score, but that's not the case. When we fall for these traps, this is how the credit card companies win. So this is why I always recommend to always know when your closing date is so you never fall back. For lesson number four, always keep your credit utilization as low as possible. What everyone recommends is always keeping your credit utilization under 30%, but ideally under 10%. So basically the lower the better. The way you calculate your credit utilization is just dividing your balance and your credit limit. To give you guys an example, let's say for instance you have a balance of $700 and your credit limit's only $1,000. You're basically using 70% of your credit utilization, which is way too much and it's gonna hinder your credit score. So most of you guys starting off your credit card journey, they're only gonna initially give you only from $250 to maybe $500 to ideally $1,000 in your credit limit, but let's talk about that right now. Keeping the credit utilization low just shows the banks that you aren't being too risky or irresponsible with the money that they're letting you borrow. What I do always recommend is if you are planning a big purchase, is always prepaying that purchase. Let's say for instance you're making a $500 purchase on your credit card that only has a credit limit of $1,000. What I would do is prepay that card and put $500 into the card so that when the $500 purchase comes in, it erases that amount as if it was never there. Credit utilization makes up 30% of your FICO score, making it one of the most important factors, so this is definitely not something to play with. And with lesson number five is never miss a payment. Having 100% on-time payments shows how responsible you guys are to future lenders when it comes to getting a car, a house, or even a business loan. We all know life happens, so even if you aren't able to pay off the full balance, just making the effort on paying the minimum payment always helps out because that is also included as an on-time payment. What I can't stress enough is always be aware when your payment due date is so that the interest rate doesn't affect your account. You never want to miss a payment because it can stay on your credit report for as long as 7 years. I know that can always scare a lot of people away, so what I always recommend is setting up automatic payments on your credit card. But always make sure you guys have enough money on your debit card so that it can pay off the credit card balance. What I personally do is just set up alarms of when the closing dates are. But everyone's different, so just find a system that works for you. Payment history is going to be 35% of your FICO score, making it the biggest factor of it, so it's definitely something to be aware of. But just to close off, always make sure to pay on time and in full if possible. Make sure you guys like the video and subscribe to my channel, and make sure to comment down below of any future content you would like to see. Down below I have some credit cards that I would recommend to any beginner out there. And with that, thank you guys for watching, and I hope you guys have a great day.